I'm Mike and welcome to my channel, and today I'd like to talk about whether or not Israel is going to be conquered one more time before the end comes. And the short answer to this question is yes, Israel will be conquered by the Antichrist during the second half of the tribulation. But for those of you who would like to hear the scriptures that say this is going to happen, I'll read them off and then briefly talk about it. And the first scripture comes out of Daniel chapter 9. And it says, "The ruler will make a treaty with the people for a period of one set of 7. But after half this time, he will put an end to the sacrifices and offerings. And as a climax to his terrible deeds, he will set up a sacrilegious object that causes desecration." So the Antichrist is going to make a 7-year peace treaty with Israel. They're going to rebuild their temple and they're going to start the daily sacrifice. But at the 3.5-year point of the tribulation, he's going to end that sacrifice. And he's going to desecrate the temple. So to me, that's saying that he has some kind of power there in Jerusalem if he's going to be able to end the sacrifice and then desecrate the temples, because I'm sure the Jews aren't going to go for that if they could stop him. The next part that adds a little bit to this is Matthew chapter 24. It says, "The day is coming when you will see what Daniel the prophet spoke about, the sacrilegious object that causes desecration standing in the holy place. Reader, pay attention. Then those in Judea must flee to the hills. A person out on the deck of a roof must not go down into the house to pack. A person out in the fields must not return even to get a coat. For there will be greater anguish than at any time since the world began, and it will never be so great again." So that time period when the Antichrist desecrates the temple is going to be so terrible that Jesus says, just flee. Whenever that happens, just flee. You don't have time to do anything else. Just flee. And it sounds like if you don't flee, you're probably not going to survive. The next part that adds a little bit more to this is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 4. "And he will exalt himself and defy everything people call God and every object of worship. He will even sit in the temple of God, claiming that he himself is God." So he himself, the Antichrist, is going to sit in the temple of God, claiming to be God. And the whole world is going to worship him. Everyone, except for Christians, are going to worship him. And then in Revelation chapter 13, "I saw that one of the heads of the beast seemed wounded beyond recovery, but the fatal wound was healed. The whole world marveled at this miracle and gave allegiance to the beast. They worshiped the dragon for giving the beast such power, and they also worshiped the beast. 'Who is great as the beast?' they exclaimed. 'Who is able to fight against him?' Then the beast was allowed to speak great blasphemies against God, and he was given authority to do whatever he wanted for 42 months. And he spoke terrible words of blasphemy against God, slandering his name and his dwelling, that is, those who dwell in heaven. And the beast was allowed to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them, and he was given authority to rule over every tribe and people and language and nation. And all the people who belong to the world worship the beast. They are the ones whose names were not written in the book of life that belongs to the Lamb who was slaughtered before the world was made." So at this halfway point, it looks like the Antichrist is wounded, has a fatal wound, but he is healed. And then he is given authority over the whole world for the next 3.5 years. And it says he wages war against God's holy people and he's allowed to conquer them. So he claims to be God and is worshipped by everyone in the world that isn't saved, that isn't written, that doesn't have their name written in the book of life. And the next part is from Zechariah, and it kind of tells us how terrible it will be at that time. Zechariah chapter 14, "Watch, for the day of the Lord is coming, when your possessions will be plundered right in front of you. I will gather all the nations to fight against Jerusalem. The city will be taken, the houses looted, and the women raped. Half the population will be taken into captivity, and the rest will be left among the ruins of the city. Then the Lord will go out to fight against those nations, as he has fought in times past. On that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives east of Jerusalem, and the Mount of Olives will split apart, making a wide valley running east to west. Half the mountain will move to the north and half will move to the south. You will flee through the valley. And then in Zechariah 14:5, then the Lord will come and his holy ones with him. So for the 3.5 years, it's going to be hell on earth, and the Antichrist is going to rule all the nations of the world. And you can see here in Zechariah, that it's going to be terrible for the people there in Israel. And this talks about especially Jerusalem. And it's not going to be over with until Jesus comes back for the battle of Armageddon. Then Jesus will put an end to all that, and Israel will never be conquered again. But the 3.5 years that the Antichrist rules is just going to be hell on earth. If you have any comments, please leave them down in the comment section, and thanks for watching.